Okay, so now that we've got our mic set, we checked our levels, and we did our test recording, we're happy with the way it's coming out. Let's do a basic record, and then I'll show some basic editing tools and things. So, since I'm just recording my voice, I'm going to select a mono recording. Okay, so it's just one channel. You could record stereo too if you want. I just, out of habit, if I'm recording one thing, I record mono. If I change it to stereo, it'll just record it on both channels, provided my mic is set up correct. Okay, but that's part of why I do mono, because in case there's any weirdness with the mic, I don't have to worry about it. All right, so my levels look good. I've selected the proper mic. I'm ready to go mono. So I'm going to start recording. And what I like to do when I record is you don't want to start talking right away. So I like to start it recording, make sure it's rolling. Okay, I'm seeing audio being laid down. That's good. So then what I'll do is I'm going to pause for a second. Hello, welcome to my show. Thank you for tuning in. Today, my guest is Bob Smith. Thanks for coming, Bob. Oh, I'm sorry, you like Robert? Today, my guest is Robert Smith. Thanks for coming, Rob. Okay, and I'm going to stop that. Boom. Okay, so I've recorded my audio, and you can see it's mono. It's just one singular sound file. If it was stereo, you'd see two of these. Okay, but it's mono. And I'm seeing my little bumps in my waveform, so that's good. All right, and then what I can do, I'm all the way at the end. I've got a little scroll bar here. I can scroll back to the beginning. One thing I wanted to point out, so we've got up to the top here, this is our timeline. All right, and right now it is displaying seconds. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, seconds. So we can see how much we've recorded. Okay, and then if we scroll down here, you can see it goes all the way up to about 49 seconds. So we recorded about 49 seconds worth of audio total. Okay, so one of the first things I want to talk about then is the zoom tool, so we can see what we're working with. That's this little magnifying glass. All right, if I click on that and I come down here, you can see it turns into a little magnifying glass, and it's got a plus sign in the middle. So what that means is it's going to zoom in. It'll make things bigger. So right now I'm here at about 4 seconds. Okay, if I click once, all right, it zooms in a little, and if you noticed, I'm still at 4 seconds, but notice how the spacing up at the top changes. Okay, if I do it again, all right, now we've got 3 seconds, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5. All right, so I'm zooming in closer, and my waveform is getting longer. Well, it's not really getting longer. I'm just magnifying it. All right, now if I want to go the other way, if I hit Shift, click, now I'm sort of back to where I was. All right. You can also, there is zoom tools over here. You can zoom in, zoom out. Okay. So that helps you navigate. So if you don't want to have to sit here and scroll back and forth, all right, what we can do is we can just zoom out, zoom out, oh, that's the wrong one. I'm zooming in. Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. Keep zooming out. All right, and now my whole piece I recorded all fits on my timeline, and you can see how the numbers change. It's just going from 0 to 15 to 30 to 45 seconds. Okay, and now here's why I left that pause in. You can see there's this space. Here's all the junk at the beginning that I recorded when I was testing, and then I paused, and I can see this is the actual intro to my show. Okay, so The next tool we want to talk about, and this is usually the default tool, and the tool you'll use the most is your selection tool. And just like a selection tool in any other program, you use it for selecting. It looks like a little I-beam, just like you have in Word or something like that. And just like in a program like Word, if you want to change something, right, you have to select it. You click and drag. Like in Word, if you wanted to change the font of a word, right, you would select the word, change the font. Okay, same thing in Audacity. If you want to make any changes to a piece of audio, you select that piece of audio and then you make whatever changes you want to make. Now, if you noticed this little finger that pops up, so this is a handy function of the selection tool. Say you make your selection and then you realize you want to change it. If you move to the edge where it turns into the finger and then you click, left click, and then you can drag and you can make your selection bigger or you can make it smaller, and you can do the same thing on the other side. You can drag it this way, drag it that way to change what you've selected, okay? Now, once you've made selections, you can also use these handy tools for zooming in and out. Aside from just a regular zoom in and zoom out, next to it, we have, this says fit selection to width. So say I've selected this piece here and I just want to look at that. If I click that, it takes my selection and makes it the entire size of my screen. Okay, so it's a quick way to just zoom in on my selection. Or if I want to zoom out and I want to see my whole project, that's the button right next to it. It says fit project to width. If I click that, all right, now it has made my timeline the exact width of everything that I have recorded. All right, so those are some handy little tools. Okay. So some other handy little tools that we can use, like I said, you can, when you make a selection, just like Word, you can do things. You have these tools, these familiar looking tools here, the scissors and stuff. So this is cut, this is copy, and this is paste, just like you would have in Word. So you could select something and you could cut it out. Or you could copy it and you could paste it. Now, whoops, that was the beginning of my intro to my show. I don't want to cut that. Well, you also have an undo. And there's lots of ways to undo. There's undo and redo buttons here. There's also, if you go in edit, you can do undo. And of course, the classic Control-Z will bring it back and undo the last thing you did. And I believe it has multiple levels of undo, so you can just keep going undo, 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 undo if you need to undo a bunch of changes. So there's those handy functions. The other things we have right next to that are, this one says trim audio outside of your selection. Okay, so what that means is if I've selected this and I click this button, it will get rid of everything but that. So if I just go boom, you can see it gets rid of the stuff on either side, right? But I'm going to undo that because I don't want to do that. Or you can do the inverse of that operation, which is this, which says silence audio selection. So that means if I make a selection and I hit this, what it will do is it will replace it with silence. All right. So you can either trim what's outside of it, or you can get rid of what's inside of it. Now this brings up an important distinction we need to make between silencing this, like with that button, or cutting it. If you notice, when I cut it, it slides everything down. All right, it literally removes it and slides all of this stuff forward. If you want to get rid of this, but you don't want this part to move, that's why you would use the silence. So now this whole section stays where it is, and it just puts silence in between, all right, as opposed to if I cut it and the whole thing slides forward, okay? Okay, so, but the first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of all of this stuff at the front end. You know, all this garbage that I did with my test. So I'm just going to select all of that and I'm going to cut it. You're going to hit cut. You can also, there's cut. There's also delete. You can also hit the delete key on your keyboard. Okay. It will all work. It will all do the same thing, and it cuts it out, and then you can see all this audio slides forward. So I'm at the beginning of the timeline. All right, now I'm going to listen to it back, make sure I cut out the right part. Hello, welcome to my show. Thank you for tuning in. All right, so good. I cut out the part I wanted. But I also remembered that, hey, I said the guest's name wrong. The guest corrected me. I called him Bob. He wants to be Robert. I guess I'm interviewing The Cure. So let me find where I did that mistake. Today, my guest is Bob Smith. Thanks for coming, Bob. And actually, it's pretty good because I breathed heavy into the mic here anyway, so I want to get rid of that. So I can lose that. Let me find out where I fixed it. Oh, I'm sorry. You like Robert? Today, my guest is Robert Smith. Thanks for coming, Rob. Okay, so I can lose everything from here, right? Today, my guest is Bob Smith. Thanks for coming, Bob. Oh, I'm sorry. You like Robert? Today. So I can lose all of this. I can cut from here all the way through here. And like I said, I don't want to silence it because now I've got this dead space in between, right? I want to cut it out. So I just cut it out. Audacity slides everything forward. Hello, welcome to my show. Thank you for tuning in. Today, my guest is Robert Smith. Thanks for coming, Rob. Okay, and I'm going to stop that. All right, and so I can also get rid of this end piece as well. You can cut that off. All right, so now I have edited out my little mistake, and it closes everything up, and you can't tell that I cut anything out. That's part of the beauty of editing. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to get rid of a lot of this dead space. If we listen, hello, welcome to my show. Thank you for tuning in. Right, there's that awkward pause right there, so I can cut this out. But what I want to do is I want to do a little fine tune editing here. So what I can do, I'll use my zoom tool to zoom in. Okay, get in really close. And I can come and I can cut all that out and I can hear how that sounds. Welcome to my show. Thank you for tuning in. All right, sounds much better. And then I got this gap here. I'm going to cut that out as well. Welcome to my show. Thank you for tuning in. Today, my guest is Robert Smith. Thanks for coming, Rob. Okay, so there we go. So we made a nice basic edit. We took out a mistake. We closed up some gaps. All right, and we have our show intro. Next up, we will talk about some more detailed editing, and we'll talk about multi-track recording.